Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our, I believe, fourth session of the day. I'd like to introduce you to Hajji, if I pronounced that right, and he will be speaking with you about the building DeFi/staking derivatives opportunities squared. So take it away, Mar.
Great. Thank you, Cameron. Hi, guys. I'm just going to share with you my screen. Here we go. Okay, so my name is Mar. I'm the founder of Unslashed. We are building an insurance protocol, and we are focusing on the risks related to POS. So I've been in stealth over the last months, and we are going out of stealth next week. So I'm happy to be here to share with you some staking derivatives wisdom. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I have a background in finance. I built a couple businesses over the last years. I started focusing on POS back in 2018 and decided that there was something to do on staking derivatives early 2019, actually. So what I'm going to try to do today is basically to walk you through the different solutions that already exist right now, in terms of staking derivatives, explain the different approaches that each one has, and then I will show you some DeFi related products that I think could be built, and hopefully I will inspire you to join this space. So when talking about staking derivatives, what we mean are really different types of products that could be traded and that are linked to the staking activity. So these different products are supposed to be used, and they are supposed to be useful and make the lives of different categories of stakeholders easier. So we're not talking about pure speculation here, but rather types of products that have a use for people who need them. And this doesn't mean that they're not going to be used for speculation. So the first type of staking derivatives that we can discuss are basically what we call liquid staking. So right now, when we take, for example, when we take the current delegation process, basically we have Bob who is going to delegate to a validator. And what's going to happen next is that his asset is going to be locked with the delegator for a certain period of time. And this way he's going to receive the staking rewards. So this is something that you guys are already familiar with. And the idea and the problems that this has is basically that Bob ends up with locked up capital. He has an inbounding period that is that depends mainly on the type of protocol he's using, and the underlying asset has a certain volatility. So, for example, he can start staking at a certain time. The asset has a price of $3. 1 month later, it can be $5. 3 months later, it can be $1. So there is a lot of volatility, and in order for him to be able to remove the asset from staking and sell it when there is a price movement that he's not happy with, it will take him a lot of time, and it's not going to be something that he will be able to do directly. With liquid staking, what happens is basically that Bob is going to delegate to the same validator, and he is going to get a representation of the staked asset. So the representation of staked asset is basically a token that represents the asset that is already staked and that is already earning the staking rewards. So this means that Bob is going to have available capital. He is going to be able to go long, short, the way he wants. So if there are some price movements that he's not really comfortable with, he is going to be able to sell this token, wait for the market to take a direction, maybe buy again, etc. And this also allows him to use some DeFi composability, meaning that the underlying asset is going to be locked, while the asset the representation of the staked asset is something that he would be able to use whatever the way he likes. So he can use it in DeFi if he wants. He can lend it, etc., etc. So this liquid staking, we have a certain number of teams that are already working on it. Most of them are validators or are in the validating space, apart from Everett Protocol. So there is Everett Protocol, there is Chorus One, who is a validator. Staffy, the team behind Staffy, is also a validator. Stake Capital, B. Harvard, Sika, who is working with Chorus One on this one, and Staker DAO, who were also validators on Tezos. So these different teams are building different types of liquid staking solutions, and we are going to try to go over them pretty quickly, and just to give you highlights of the differences and choices that each team has done. So we are going to start with the delegation vouchers, which is the solution that Chorus One and Sika started working on, and basically afterwards, Chorus One was took over the project and was leading it. So this solution is built for Cosmos Hub, and it's designed for Cosmos and Tendermint. So the idea is that the original design is going to work mainly on Tendermint-based blockchains. So the idea for delegation vouchers is that we are going to change how staking is done, and we are going to generate these delegation vouchers directly on the Cosmos Hub. So the Cosmos Hub is going, whenever there is a delegation, whenever there is a delegation on Cosmos Hub, the delegator is going to receive what we call a delegation voucher, which is going to represent the delegation position with the validator that they choose. So for each validator, we're going to have a different delegation voucher, and the delegation voucher is going to accumulate the staking rewards. And whenever a delegator wants to get back his atoms, in the case of Cosmos Hub, they're going to be able to redeem the delegation voucher and get back atoms plus the staking rewards. So this is a solution mainly focused on Cosmos Hub, and that implies changing pieces of the way the hub works. The second solution is the B-Atom solution by Everett Protocol. So the way this solution is designed is basically to take a separate zone. I don't know if you guys don't know how Cosmos works. Basically, you have different blockchains that are separate and that are independent, and the blockchains could be either zones or hubs, and a zone could be linked to the Cosmos Hub or to other hubs and to other zones by a protocol that allows different blockchains to communicate. So the way it is designed by Everett Protocol is basically they are building a separate Cosmos zone. This zone is designed also to work for Tendermint and Cosmos, and this zone is going to take the atoms that are going to be delegated to validators, and then release a token that is going to represent the staked atoms on the Cosmos Hub. So instead of going directly through the Cosmos Hub, you're going to go through another blockchain that is going to be only taking the atoms, delegating them to the validators that you pick, and then give you back a token that is called a B-Atom, which means basically bonded atom that you can use afterward, that you can trade, etc., etc. So in order to do this, this solution is based on IBC, and they also invented the interchain account, which is an account that allows to control a Cosmos Hub account from a different blockchain, from their zone, for example. The third solution is basically designed by Stake Capital. It's L tokens. So this one is different. The first two solutions were on Cosmos, and they were focusing on being in the Cosmos ecosystem. This one is focused on having the tokens on Ethereum. So it's built basically on Ethereum smart contracts plus bridges with the different blockchains. So the way they designed it is basically to work for Livepeer, Tezos, Cosmos, and it's based on a DAO that is called Stake DAO. So whenever someone wants to delegate to the Stake DAO to work with Stake DAO, they are going to be provided with L tokens, and the L tokens are going to be different from one blockchain to the other, and probably from one validator to the other. And these L tokens are going to be ERC20 tokens that can be traded on Ethereum directly. The fourth solution is the one designed by Staffy, and it's called ABT tokens. So this solution is built on Substrate, but at the same time, it gives back ERC20 tokens. So the way it is designed is that they have their own blockchain on Substrate, and they are going to do bridges with the different other blockchains in order to allow the delegators to go through the Substrate blockchain that they are building in order to delegate to on the different blockchains. So it could be on Polkadot, Tezos, Cosmos, and then get back a token that is an asset-backed token. They call it asset-backed token, and this asset-backed token is going to be different from one validator to another. It's going to be also different from one blockchain to the other. And the idea for them is basically to give you an ERC20 token as well. So it's somehow similar to Stake Capital. The main difference being that it's built on Substrate and it's not leveraging a DAO so far. And the final one is StakerDAO. So StakerDAO is built on Tezos. It's built mainly for POS blockchains. So they are going to take as many, I think, projects that are big enough for them to include it in StakerDAO. And the blend tokens basically are kind of synthetics that are a mix of different tokens. So they can have, for example, 30% of Tezos, 30% of atoms, 30% of DCR, etc., etc. So they are building synthetics that are going. The blend token is a synthetic basket of tokens that people are going to be able to buy directly, and they are the ones managing them. So this is a different approach from what we've seen before, but they are also planning on releasing simple synthetic tokens, which are going to be similar to the ones that we saw before. So both types of tokens are going to be ERC20 tokens, so they are going to be tradable and available on Ethereum. And the idea for them is to start building different types of baskets and different types of tokens and release them. So the first application, DeFi application that we can have based on liquid staking are indices and baskets. So we can have two types of indices, and we can also mix them to create some hybrid types. So the first type is a mix of different assets. We can build, for example, a passive tracker that is going to contain a percentage of each asset based on their respective market caps. So in this case, for example, we have Cosmos, Tezos, Decred, Polkadot, Near, Scale, Kava, Solana, Coda, and Celo. Maybe I missed a lot of other POS blockchains. We can have a strategy that is going to be simply we are going to take, maybe we have 30 different assets. We are going to take 3% of the amount that we want to invest in this tracker. We are going to put it on one blockchain. So we're going to have 3% of atoms, 3% of TZs, 3% of DCR, 3% of dots, etc. So this is one way of doing it, and this is like a passive way of doing it, where we are going just to fix percentages and don't do anything and not do anything after that. The other way, the other approach that could be implemented is basically to have some kind of automatic rebalancing based on the market caps that we said before. So the idea is to say, okay, maybe Tezos represents 20% of the total market cap of the different assets that we selected for our index. What we are going to do is that if Tezos goes goes to 25%, we are going to buy more theses in order to for the percentage to represent 25% on our end as well. If it goes lower, we are going to sell theses and buy more of the other assets that are going to allow us just to follow the market cap repartition. And this is like one approach. Another approach would be like to build a tracker based on the staking rewards of each network. So the highest yielding network would have the biggest piece of the pie, and the smallest staking rewards would have a smaller percentage of the basket. So for example, if we have like Kava giving I don't know, 20% per year of staking rewards, and Cosmos and Tezos are more like around between I don't know, 7 and 10%. Kava is going to be the one having the biggest piece of the pie, and is going to be the one with the most representation within this index. So we can also build indices that are going to be focused on the volatility of the different assets. We can also have an approach. We are going to use these different variables and have an active strategy, etc. So in terms of indices and baskets, there are a lot of things to do. So far, some projects have approached them. Chorus One has thought of some implementations, etc. So this is something that could be done, and this is something that is going probably to be needed in the future. StakerDAO also has this approach. So if you are interested, you can go for this one. There is another type of basket or index, which is basically based on validators. So in this case, it's going to be within the same protocol. We can have indices of baskets that are going to the idea is to have different types of baskets that are going to be built. For example, we could have one basket focusing on having a diverse geography, so the delegations would be split with as many would be split across as many geographically diverse validators as possible. It can also be something related to the size of the validators. So the index will focus on diversifying across the bottom 30% of the validators on the network, or it could be built on or it could be used also to build a risk-neutral position that allows its holders to keep exactly the same percentage of tokens in the network, no matter if a slashing event happens or not, etc., etc. So these indices are like the first layer of DeFi that we could add using the liquid staking, and this is something that is going probably to have a lot of use cases in the future, and there are a lot of things to be done. There are a lot of things to be built using these. The second application is basically CDPs. So CDPs, what they allow, I mean, if you guys are familiar with CDPs are the way Maker DAO allows to create DAI. So it's a smart contract in which we are locking Ether, and we receive DAI for locking this Ether. So basically, we're locking Ether, and we are going to receive a stable coin, and the amount of Ether that is locked is all the time a lot higher than the amount of DAI that we receive in return. So the way we can do a CDP using liquid staking is basically we are going to go through the first step, which is delegation and receiving the liquid asset. Then we are going to take the liquid asset and we are going to lock it into a CDP and receive a stable coin. What we can do after that is basically to take the stable coins that we received and buy the base asset in a DEX or the liquid asset in a DEX. Both can be done. And once if we buy the base asset, for example, we can delegate it again and receive another liquid asset. So what happens basically when we use CDPs is that we can start building a leverage position. And this is something really cool that could be done, because we start with one asset. We're going to delegate it, receive the liquid asset, take the liquid asset, put it in a CDP, receive a stable coin, take the stable coins, buy the base asset again, delegate it, receive liquid asset, etc. So we can repeat this operation over and over again until we reach a limit, which is between 3 and 5x of leverage. And once we reach this limit, we can have like some interesting examples. So I'm going to show you two examples, one of Cosmos and one of Tezos, basically. So if we take this operation that we described and we do it on Cosmos, we can end up, for example, with a position of 3x leverage. The staking rewards for 1 year are around, I think, 9% right now on Cosmos. So the CDP position staking reward is going to be something like 27% per year. And we can have more if we restake. If we restake like every week, every 2 weeks, the staking rewards that we receive. And there is also a liquidation point, which is going to be a variation of price down of 25% on the Atom USD price. So this type of strategy and this type of usage is something that is risky, but at the same time it gives a bigger staking reward. So the leverage position allows its holder to have an exposure to the underlying asset, which is basically the Atom. So if the price of Atom goes up, it's going to the position is going to make 3 times as much money. And at the same time, there is a reward that is 3 times as big as the regular reward. So this can be a very interesting type of product to build and to use. Same type of idea with Tezos. So we have like 4x leverage position. The staking reward is 6% per year, and the CDP position is going to have a 25% per year reward. This would lead to a liquidation point that is going to be around 20%, minus 20% on TZ USD price, and the same reasoning that we did remains valid. So this is like the first type of leverage positions based on staking derivatives that we can build, and this is something that I'm pretty excited about, and I'm waiting to see some guys do it out there, because it's going to be really interesting to see what happens once we have these types of products. The second possibility is basically lending. So lending is somehow easy, the same logic that we had before, which is to delegate, receive a liquid asset, and then take the liquid asset and put it in a lending protocol. Putting it in a lending protocol allows us to keep getting the staking reward from the delegation that we made earlier and earn an additional interest on top of it. So this is the money Lego logic, where we are going to start having like 6% on an asset and then getting an additional 2 or 3% with the lending protocol. So this is like a first phase for the lending protocol. It can allow to have this yield, and it also opens the door for short selling. So what happens for short selling, for example, is that we are going to have Bob, who does this lending part, and we are going to have Alice, who is going to be depositing a collateral, getting a liquid asset, and then selling it on a DEX in the market, and getting stable coins, for example, or getting something else. And when we do this operation over and over again, what it allows us basically is to build a kind of leverage short position, where Alice is going to be depositing the dollars that she received as collateral again, getting more liquid assets, selling them on the market, and getting more money, etc., until there is a very strong position that is built. This also allows us to build like a a long-short strategy. So a long-short strategy is basically we are going long an asset and we are short another asset. So the long-short strategy in this case could be like having on one hand being long CeeLo and on the other hand being short Matic. So this means that Bob has been delegating Matic tokens, getting the liquid Matic, putting liquid Matic in a lending protocol, getting an interest and a yield out of it, and then Alice, on the other hand, is going to be depositing CeeLo as a collateral, getting the liquid Matic, selling the liquid Matic on the market, getting maybe buying at the same time more CeeLo and depositing it depositing it as a collateral. So this way we end up with a position which is going to be leveraged somehow, short on Matic and long on CeeLo using the collateral. The fourth type of product that could be built using liquid staking and DeFi are swaps. So the swaps basically can happen at two levels. We can have swaps that are going to happen at the same protocol, within the same protocol, and this can be also inter-protocol. So within the same protocol, we're taking an example with Cosmos here. We're going to have like two users. I didn't put names here, but let's say it's Alice and Bob again. One wants to have a fixed rate, the other one wants to have a variable rate. So we can have an application or a DApp or a DeFi protocol that is going to allow here to exchange these rates. One user is going to pay something to the other user depending on how much the rates are going to be. But the thing is, we can have some people who want to have a fixed rate because we know that the staking rewards are the percentages are moving all the time. It depends on different formulas depending on the protocol. So the idea is to say, okay, we can have the opportunity to have a fixed rate over a certain period of time. So these types of products are called swaps, and these kinds of products could be somehow easily implemented on the blockchain, and we can see different types of users that could be interested in using them. So the idea is that you're giving your staking rewards, which are variable, and you're getting a fixed amount of rewards on the other hand. So this is one kind of swaps. We can have also inter-protocol swaps. Basically giving your Tezos staking rewards against the Cosmos staking rewards. We can have other types of other ways of doing it, but the main idea remains to focus on swapping two different like interest rates, which are really staking rewards between two different protocols. So this maybe after that, I mean, for me, after the swaps, we enter products or staking derivatives that's going to be kind of futuristic. We can have calls, we can have different types of options, etc. But for now, and what is like actionable right now, we have the liquid staking part, we have the lending protocols that are going to leverage it, we have the CDPs. All of this are kind of products that could be used maybe in 1 month, 2 months time, and that could be useful for a certain number of players. So when we think about validators, they can be in a position where they need to be able to forecast their future revenues. They need to be able to short sell an asset. So giving them the ability to do it and the products to do it is something that's going to make sense and probably to be used. So the same way, having the ability to short some assets for miners made sense at a certain point in time, and still makes sense for some of them. This is the kind of products that could make sense in the near future. So the third type of product is what we are building at Unslashed. So basically, we are working on risk derivatives, which is a broad category. We are focusing on slashing risk. So the idea is to say that we have a delegator. He's going to delegate to a validator. And as a delegator, and depending on the network, it's not the case on all the networks, there's going to be a slashing risk. So the slashing risk, the delegator continues to bear the slashing risk, whereas he's not really responsible for slashing events. So there is a trust relationship with validators, which is a little bit hard to build, to be honest. And there's also, it leads to a centralization of delegations. So if we have a certain number of validators who already have a reputation within a network, the risk, the slashing risk that exists, is going to push a lot of delegators to focus on the known validators. So we end up with a more centralized network where we are looking for a more decentralized one. What we are allowed to do with Unslashed is basically to delegate and to transfer the risk to a third party through our protocol. I'm not going to get into the details of this, but the idea is basically to have delegators who are going to be, or delegations who are going to be slashing risk-free. So we need less trust. We need less trust. It leads to not needing to trust the validator, and it also can lead, and this is not the only way to do it, it also can lead to a diversification of delegations. So the idea is just to say, okay, no matter what validator you're picking, you can end up in a situation where there is you don't bear any risk, and there is no slashing risk for you by using an insurance protocol that is focusing on this risk in particular. So I think I was a little bit quick. So this is my email address. If you guys want to contact me, I'd be happy to discuss and share. This is the Twitter handle for Unslashed. I just created it because it was prepared like it was meant for tomorrow. So you can follow us. I'm going to post a lot of things about the staking derivative space and the insurance space as well. And we can move to your questions. Okay, let me see. Oh, actually, there are no questions. Thanks for joining. Okay, got here late. Okay, are there expiration dates on these positions? Who gets super? Seems like selected firms. Who is AG? Okay, so there is a question. How will prediction markets affect stakers? It's really a broad question. Like, how are options going to affect stakers? Are you thinking of something precise, or is it like in general? Like, basically, prediction markets could be used for the risk part. It can be used to remove the risk. It can be used to make the delegations risk-free, etc., etc. This is one way of doing it. The same way, prediction markets could be used also to have bets on the future prices of. Well, we can use prediction markets for all the types of products that we discussed in this slide. So, if you have a precise question, I would be happy to answer it. How do you get reputation of different validators? Well, basically, the reputation of different validators is a matter of research. So you have a lot of validators who are putting a lot of work out there and who are contributing to the network, building different tools, etc., etc. So they build themselves reputation. This doesn't mean that they are the most secure validators out there, but it's just that they are out there, and it's a way of marketing themselves. Where can I borrow crypto now in decentralized way? Where you can do it in multiple places. You can do it on Fulcrum. You can do it on Compound. You can do it on DYDX. There are a lot of lending protocols that allow you to borrow crypto, to lend and borrow crypto in a decentralized manner. Delegators and validators dynamics, can you touch upon it for win-win situations? Well, right now what's happening, it's not delegator validator dynamic, but this is something that's probably has been discussed in the other sessions. But basically, there is a bad dynamic going on between the validators themselves, meaning that a lot of validators are fighting each other in order to have the lowest commission fees, and they are leading to less decentralization, and at the same time less funds to be invested in the security of the networks. So for win-win situations, basically this situation, the actual situation, is a nice win for delegators. I hope that we are going to reach an equilibrium in the next months, where the validators are going to be able to have revenues, and at the same time the delegators are going to be able to have the quality of service that they are expecting. But using the staking, different types of staking derivatives, and using them as kind of additional services, we can maybe reach something like this, like a win-win situation. What are the insurance protocols available at this time that function as third-party risk bearers? Well, basically, we are building one. I think we are the only ones focusing on this. So there is Unslashed. So if you are interested, you can drop me an email, and we are hiring if you want to work on something like this. Is there a simple way to see this kind of DeFi liquid in action? Maybe some kind of UI or dashboard? I think that Stake Capital made something available on Ropstein or maybe Coven, but I'm not sure. But basically, everyone is working on testnets right now, and there is no real dashboard or something like to play a little bit with it. But the idea is just to make staked coins available for anyone. Okay, I think AG said who gets to participate. Seems like selected firms. Actually, anyone would be able to participate in this. This is very important. Most of the protocols or the liquid staking solutions are focused on giving access to all validators. So it's not like selected firms. The protocols themselves are open source, so they can be forked if needed. It's really, the idea is to make it open. It's not like there is going to be only the big validators who are going to have access to this, which would be bad for the networks in case it happens. This is this is very, very important to keep in mind. So we are in an open space. It's not made for selected firms who are going to be able to do it. Are there expiration dates on these positions? If you're talking about the liquid staking positions, there are no expiration dates. So you can, I mean, yeah, there are no expiration dates. I'm positive about this. You can do it whenever you want. You can go in, out of your position whenever you want. The idea is really to make it liquid. What are the learnings from early stage attempts like EtherRisk? Well, there are a lot of learnings, but I think it's out of the scope of this session. But if you have been following this space or the insurance space, you would see that there are a lot of things that were tried and a lot of things to learn from the mistakes of others. Can you expand on the risk derivative products? Number 3, the initial explanation was really vague. Is there a formula for product number 3 by AG? Well, basically, the idea is just to transfer risk. There is no formula, there can be no formula, to put it this way. Because it's not easy to price risk or to model risk, or I'm saying it's not easy. Actually, it's impossible. So there is no formula to put a model or something like this. And the main idea is just to say that there is going to be other people who are going to be willing to buy the risk and be paid in order to buy the risk. So the way it works is similar to the way a regular insurance works. You pay a premium, you get a cover, and if there is a slashing event, you're going to be covered. If there is no slashing event, then if there is no slashing event, then you're going just to end up with the premium that you paid going to the people who provided the cover. So Richard Burton's question: how will prediction markets affect stakers? Well, by stakers, does Richard Burton mean delegators or validators or everyone? Shinju. Whelan's question: what are the insurance protocols available at this time that function as third-party risk bearers? Well, I already answered this one. Basically, third-party risk bearers for now, for POS risks, there are no insurance protocols that are targeting this. So that's also the reason why we are building it, because we think that there is a need and we are focusing on it. Well, I'm going to answer Richard Burton's questions, I mean, in an open manner. for me, prediction markets can be used for all the products that we discussed in this presentation. So the result basically is just to say any type of product that we have that is going to be used with liquid staking. It could be options, it could be swaps, etc., etc. Is something that could be used for prediction markets, and prediction markets could give us also kind of indication regarding what people think will happen next. For example, for the price of an asset. For example, for the risk of a validator. For example, for the variation in the staking rewards, etc., etc. So prediction markets basically are tools that allow to build derivatives, more like synthetic derivatives than direct derivatives, but they can be used everywhere. Okay, just so Richard Burton's question. Well, Richard, if you want us to discuss, we can discuss it in private. If you have like a specific question, you can send me an email. We can discuss it. I'd be happy to understand what you were thinking of and provide answers if I can provide any. Well, if there are no other questions, maybe we can wrap this one up. Thank you, everyone who was here. And I will let Cameron take over.
Yes, thank you so much, Mar. Really do appreciate it. So everyone, let's just kind of thank Mar in the chat for all of his amazing insights, and then we will move on into our next panel. So session, and that's going to start at 11 a.m. So we have 15 minutes, and we will see you soon. Thanks again, Mar.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank
Bye.
you, Shinju, Cameron. Bye.
That was great. Good stuff.